Phoenix Riverbound. What a beautiful, beautiful band, undiscovered artists they are. That is Vienna, the song Vienna by the Phoenix Riverbound. Guitarist Robert Craven introducing it into my Sustack chat not so long ago. Uh, Now, folks, welcome everybody. It's Friday. It's that time of day when we talk about AI, innovation, and ethics. And I'm really pleased to say, in the Sustack Plans Chat Club, I'm really pleased to say that I've got good old Reggie Johnson from Fort Worth, Texas, USA, with us as always. Reggie, good afternoon to you.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. 7 a.m. God bless you for getting up this hour of the day. And we've got a special guest, Amir Elion, an ex-Amazon innovation lead and author of lots of stuff we'll be talking about later on. Amir, very welcome.
Thank you. Very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I was admiring the variety of weather you have in Sweden with the lovely pool in the background, but you've got snow there as well, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah, yeah.
It's thick and snow, is it?
It is. We've had quite a lot of snow the past 2 weeks. So yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, listen, we've got a lot to cover, and I'm really, really glad to have Amir here with us because we want to stay positive, but we want to look at both sides of what's happening in the world of AI, innovation, and ethics. So, Amir wrote something really interesting, which caught my eye, and then I chased him and said, "Could you perhaps come and explain to our listeners what this is about?" So that's stuff we'll be talking about. Three key decisions you have to make before using an AI agent, and it's essential really because that's the pattern, that's the way it's going. So we'll come back to that and we'll make space for that at the end of our chat. But beforehand, we're going to be talking about Google inviting 13-year-olds to delete their parental control. There's all sorts of implications with that, so we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about Google using your emails to train its AI and what you can do about that. We'll be talking about the Instagram data leak, and scammers are everywhere, and what to do about that. And we've had a breaking here, well, in London where I live, but right now I'm in Dubai in the UAE. But Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, I call her Starmer versus Musk round one. We'll explain all. It's that undressing of people issue that's spun around the world, and it's symbolic, I think, or representative of the way a lot of the oligarchs, the big brother oligarchs, behave. So we'll have a look at that. Then we want to get into really nice, good, meaty stuff with Amir and the three decisions before using an AI agent. And something else we spotted during the week, time allowing, we'll talk about how can classic Apple ads help AI users. And I've just discovered that the Apple ad we're going to talk about, all right, that's been written about and recommended to AI users, is actually almost 50 years old, would you believe? So a stunning piece of work by Apple, almost 50 years old. That has implications for AI users today. And that is that. But just before we kick off, I want to mention to you, and Reggie might put the link up there, that there is a copy of the 21-page Substack executive summary, so how to write the perfect plan, with the advantages and disadvantages of AI integrated into your plan. So that is free and available for those that complete the 3-minute AI survey. So Reggie will put the link up there, and I will put the link up with the notes, which we post on prsmith.org/blog. Okay, so let's kick off with the first item we've got today, which is Google inviting 13-year-olds. So if you've got a 13-year-old or your friend, your neighbor, or you're an auntie or an uncle or a grandparent or a parent or whatever, but you know of a 13-year-old, well, Google are now inviting 13-year-olds, or were inviting 13-year-olds, to delete their parental control. So they know when the birthday's coming and they send them this message. Please tell me this is not true, Reggie.
Yeah, no, it is true. This was pointed out by Melissa McKay, president of the Digital Childhood Institute, who's been a safety advocate for 10 years. But this is interesting. I mean, if you just imagine that you've got a 12-year-old child and you've done everything you can to protect them, you've set up their account with parental controls, which are not just to protect them from harms, they're also to protect them from having their data exploited and stolen. So you've done these parental controls, and you find out that Google is directly reaching out to your 12-year-old child saying, hey, we know you're going to be 13 soon, so here is how you remove parental restrictions from your account yourself, because when you turn 13, it's all you. You're an adult as far as we're concerned, as far as data regulations are concerned, so here's how you do it. Pretty appalling, wouldn't you say? Like, I found this hard to believe at first. But this has become a big thing where a lot of people have dealt with this. And it's $1 trillion corporation is directly contacting every child to tell them they are old enough to graduate from parental supervision. And the email explains how they can remove them themselves. I mean, this is a pretty I think that what Melissa McKay describes it as stepping over a boundary, and I think that's a really good way. She also calls it grooming for engagement, grooming for data, grooming for minors for profit. And she says, there's a quote from her: "In nearly 10 years as an online safety advocate, this is among the most predatory corporate practices I have seen." Now, having said that, this has had a lot of backlash. Do you have an update about this, Paul?
I do. Just before we give you the update that I discovered this morning, Amir, any thoughts? Do you have children, or do you know people with children of that age?
My children are a bit older. My oldest one is 24, and the youngest is 18. We have another one in the middle. But yeah, definitely concerning. I think we should be teaching our children very early about responsibility and also being open enough so that they trust us.
To get it. That's what Wayne Denner, who is our child safety expert, who's with us most weeks, that's what he would say, exactly that stuff. We need to have those conversations with children, both in schools and around the dinner table and so on and so forth. But you're right, Reggie. Melissa McKay, as of this morning, has posted a piece saying, in light of Google's recent reversal of a policy allowing children to remove parental controls, there are several serious legal questions and answers. And that is true. The main thing is she's saying that they've reversed that policy now. So, but again, I'm very cautious and very hesitant and very weary of what we call the oligarchs, the big brother oligarchs, the technological oligarchs. Because you raised a few questions saying, well, what legal authority, if any, supported Google's policy of mass emailing children in the first place to encourage them to disable parental controls without parental consent? If none existed, then who approved this harmful practice? She also goes on to say, does the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA, as it's known as, actually allow children to agree to the complex terms of service contracts required by apps and app stores, including liability, data use, payments, all of that? Is there a contract with these? What's going on? So she really digs into it. We'll post links to both of Melissa's pieces, because if those of you are interested in this, there's a lot more knowledge.
Wouldn't it make more sense to contact the parents and say, you have parental controls on for your 12-year-old. They're going to be 13 soon. It's now time to talk with them about the risks and the benefits, and talk with them about if they're ready to turn off parental controls. I mean, that seems like that would be the responsible thing to do. Contacting the kids just seems really dirty.
That would be the ethical thing to do, the correct thing to do. But somehow it seems to have slipped off the agenda in this whirly world of AI that we speak in, which brings us on to Google being naughty again, using your emails to train its AI. Amir, are people generally aware of this, or you would be aware, I'm sure, but are your colleagues aware of it and friends aware?
Yeah, I mean, Google is one example, but even if you think of the other big players, right? A lot of the times when I go and talk to customers or people who start to use those AI tools, ChatGPT, Claude, and whatnot, the default is you're opted in, and then you need to, first of all, you need to know that you can switch it off, and then you need to actually take an action. So I would actually rather, if the default was opted out, and then even have a chat with the chatbot. I mean, that it's built in there. It's not too difficult. They don't need to need anybody to send an email or call you or whatnot. They just need to train the AI to show you what responsible digital action is like.
Absolutely, 100% correct. That's what they should be doing. So anyways, the steps, if you at the moment want to opt out, go to Gmail at the top right hand, click settings in the general tab, go to smart features, uncheck, turn on smart features in Gmail, chat and meet, and then you can choose. So it's a lot there, but that's in the video that Wayne has done. So we'll put a link into that article as well for you people. And finally, on the kind of scamming and scammers, we've come across Instagram data leak, and that a lot of scammers are now emailing Instagrammers, because 17.5 million Instagram accounts were exposed So be wary if you're not ready for, if you're an older person or a younger person, you're probably not aware of this sort of thing. But the scammers are now sending very convincing Instagram emails designed to steal passwords and take over accounts. So we've got another video from Wayne. So we put a link to it, but it shows you how to spot fake Instagram emails, where to check official Instagram alerts, and the simple steps to secure your account. So those of you that want that sort of information, we'll stick it up on prsmith.org/blog with the links to exactly what you need to do. Now, staying with this theme of the Brodigarchs really misbehaving for quite some time, but particularly this week, it's been quite busy. I'm calling this Starmer versus Musk round one. And this is a piece written by Graham Lovelace. And the UK Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has thrown the gauntlet down to Elon Musk, saying that the Prime Minister will not stand for the absolutely disgusting and shameful actions of his social media platform X. So, charting generative AI's quick take explains the legislative and regulatory steps that the UK is taking against Grok's generation of illegal, non-consensual, intimate images of women and children in particular. And in our limited free period post, we'll ask in a poll, should the UK's online safety watchdog ban X over Grok's sexualized imagery? Well, Reggie, we talked about Grok last week and the apology that they placed last week. Do you remember we talked about this?
Yeah, it was fascinating because they actually had Grok apologize on X and said, I am sorry for what I did. And it seemed a pretty transparent way to avoid accountability for Elon Musk, for the company, and to put the one person on LinkedIn had even said, is this trying to normalize machines taking responsibility for the bad actions of people? Because it said it violated its own safeguards. Well, the safeguards are the responsibility of the people running the machine, not the machine's job to do that. So this was very concerning that they tried to frame it. They also tried to make it sound like it was something that had only happened once. They said, on this date, I created an image that was inappropriate, and I apologize for that. This is Grok talking. Grok, not Elon Musk. And it's the truth is this has happened lots of times. Millions of people have used this, and to frame it as though it happened once and that's the responsibility of the machine seems very intentional and very disturbing. But if we've seen one pattern in big tech, it's been a complete lack of accountability for the CEOs and leaders of big tech. So it's not surprising.
Yeah. I think the board of directors are responsible. The owners, CEOs, chair, they're all responsible and should have to carry that responsibility. I mean, you are if your product damages, as we said before, you would not be allowed to launch a car that was unsafe and kill people or damage people. So why should you be allowed to produce a generative AI product and bring it to the marketplace and do irreparable damage? I mean, at the time of writing last week, the Grok images of the young girls, of the particular ones we're talking about, have been viewed more than 2.3 million times. Now multiply that by a week later, how far has that spread?
Now, think about this, Paul.
Yep.
In the United States, if you have a picture of a minor that's a sexual image of a minor, when it comes to legal consequences, every single image you have is a chargeable offense. So if you have 10 images, that's 10 20-year sentences or whatever it is. If you have 1,000 images, think of how many thousands or millions of images that have been generated by Grok. And we're talking by US law. Each single image is a chargeable offense considered a violation of a sexual abuse of children and is punishable. So we're talking a huge number of violations and charges that a human would be sent to jail for 1 million years for.
Yeah, I guess I suppose the question really becomes, does the judicial system, if it has the desire, number one, but if it has that desire across the world, does it have the capacity to take on something like this? They'll have to use bots to execute the orders, perhaps. But what is important amongst all of the three things we've just talked about there, for me, is the importance of standing together and standing up, not sitting down and accepting that Grok can do whatever it wants, Musk can do whatever he wants. This is unacceptable. And in fact, you probably gathered, Amir, I'm Irish. I live in London, but I'm a proud Irishman, and I'm very pleased to say that the Radio Television Éireann, the national broadcasting television station reported yesterday that the minister with responsibility for artificial intelligence, Neil Smith, quote unquote, said, "It is illegal in this country to undress an image of a real person. Ex-subscribers in Ireland cannot undress an image of a real person." So here's what X said. X said it will, as a result of this, they've replied immediately and said, right, okay, sorry, we will geo-block. Now listen to this. We will geo-block the ability of all Grok and X users to create images of people in bikinis, underwear, and similar attire. Now, I am just appalled by that statement. So that, you know, if you're in a geo-block area that you've got lots of lawyers and lots of resources to take these giants on, and they'll back off and geo-block it. But the rest of them can go to hell as far as I can see. And the second audacity of this here is, oh yeah, we're really sorry, you know, and we'll only show people in bikinis and underwear and similar attire. Would you like to see your own mother, you know, in her bikini or in her underwear, or your wife or your girlfriend or your daughter? You know, for them to say that they're going to change their policy, and that's what they're going to do, is like an admission of how outrageous this is. And then the Irish, it was reported RTE again, they said that the Gardaí, that's the Irish police force, said there are 200 active investigations into child sexual abuse related images generated by Grok. I mean, the scale, we're a small country in Ireland, but, you know, add in Sweden, add in, you know, other countries and all the way up to America, and this is massive. And each victim here, their lives could be destroyed by this sort of thing. So we live on the cusp of an era, we've said it before, when the oligarchs seem to do what they want to do unless we stand up. And so when you stand up, you get a reaction. But let's keep going after them, demanding more. Now, some of this is all very negative, you might say, but I wanted to kind of go a bit more positive here. And something that Amir wrote just the other day that caught my eye, and I thought, this is really positive and really interesting. And I don't know if this is the right headline to introduce it, Amir, but I'll say it. Here's three decisions that you should consider before using an AI agent. Over to you, Amir. What advice can you give us to people listening in on what three decisions should you think about before using an AI agent?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to agree with you what you said. You know, there's lots of potentially bad things that can happen, right? There's bad actors. There's people who don't think enough about this. When I communicate, like the post that you just mentioned, I actually speak not to the ones that have good intentions, but have not considered all the implications of doing things. So these are, because AI agents are going to proliferate, they're already becoming a part of all the tools that we use, the processes that we do for our business, for our personal lives, and on our, you know, the machines that we have in our pockets. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to frame things in a way that people understand and can actually take action on. So the 3 points that I mentioned in the post were, these agents are going to have more and more access to act on our behalf. They can post in our name, just one thing, but then they can buy things. They can, manipulate some of our data. They can, take our files. They can access our emails and whatnot. So one of the key decisions we need to make is which of these actions we do want to delegate to them, right? As Reggie mentioned, in the end, it's our responsibility. We can't then later say, hey, it's not me that took that action. It's a digital entity that I'm not responsible for. No, on the contrary, you are responsible for it. So be very deliberate about which action you want to give it. And also be careful because these are non-deterministic systems, they can misinterpret what you meant in which action they can take. So you have to be very, that's why you have to keep up with what the technology can do and how you should communicate and work with it. What are the limits? So that's the first one, be deliberate about the action that you want to take, or you want it to allow it to take, to delegate it. Then these systems become more and more autonomous. So how much autonomy do we want to give them? Where do we want to have the human in the loop, right? When is there a critical decision, a judgment call that we need to make? And how do we evaluate that they actually, call us at the right moment and let us be part of that decision, and we don't just send them off to the world expecting, waking up a week later and said, hey, well, I don't know, I didn't intend to do all of this in 1 week, and it just went on and did autonomous crazy stuff on my behalf. No, you have to be intentional about this decision too. How much level of autonomy, how much trust do you place in it? And this will be something that you'll have to learn over time. And then the third one is the great thing about these machines and these tools, that they learn from feedback. There's ways to do it. You can give them context, you can guide them, you can prompt them in the right way. So how do you bake in this flywheel of positive learning and continuous learning, both for the agent and for the people working with the agents? So I think these are the three things that you have to keep in mind. How much action, how much autonomy, and how do you continuously teach and learn from those interactions?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about that. I think that's really, really excellent advice. And you've said elsewhere that AI is messy. It can be messy if we allow it to be, and if we ignore these three decisions, if you like. And you've also said AI is imperfect. And you know what? That is so simple. It's beautiful. I mean, we've been talking about the imperfections for a long time, Reggie. But we haven't used that phraseology, and I just like it. Suddenly, it's like we can relax a little bit, because you've said those words, which I think are important. AI is perfect, imperfect. It's not perfect; it's imperfect, and we get a bit strung up about the damage it can do, the this, the that, the negative stuff. And that's because it's imperfect, or maybe the people behind it are building stuff that's imperfect consciously into it. But a lot of it is this imperfection of the AI multiplied by the imperfection of the management skills of the user. So this imperfect thing is really important. So in your own words, Amir, you said AI is far from perfect, but neither are humans. And again, yeah,
exactly. I mean, so in a way, these new systems, these new kinds of AI, they're a reflection of humans, right? Of what the incredible, creative, good, passionate humans can do. But on the same time, if some humans, and myself included, we do mistakes sometimes. We are not perfect. I haven't met the perfect person yet. But the thing is about this system, they amplify both of the things. They amplify the power of being super creative and creating, discovering new science and solving very difficult problems. But left to themselves, they can also amplify the bad sides. So they're imperfect, but they're beautifully also imperfect, and almost, it's a bit paradoxical. They're human in many ways. They have human traits.
This is intriguing. It's so simple. It's beautiful, and it kind of makes you rethink the whole thing. Again, somewhere else you said, like your AI is like training a new team member. Now those are your words. I think they're great words, and I think people just say, "Oh, AI is great. Grab it, do it, get on with it, leave me alone." But actually, if you do that to a new team member, they're going to flop. They need to be trained. They need to be motivated. They need to be told parameters that you can, you can't. In fact, let's go back to the three tips you're giving us, the three decisions you got to make about action, autonomy, and continuous learning. So just to run over those again, if you're sending emails or updating your CRM, if you're using to do that sort of thing, well, just how far do you want to go to keep the customer happy? Do you want to continue the relationship? Do you want it to stop at a point, or do you want to escalate it back to a human? Where's the kind of guidelines? And autonomy, what degree of autonomy would you want? Would you want an agent to end a relationship, to start a new one, to continue one, to grow it, to decide,
or to suggest a bad decision to a customer? Like, coming back to what you said about Gmail and stuff like that. Would you want an AI to make a decision like that and reach out to the wrong audience, suggesting the wrong path?
Yeah. So what would you do about that, Amir, to stop that?
I would start carefully, and especially if you don't know these systems and you don't know what they're capable of and what the mistakes that they can do. Or so either bring somebody who knows, or have someone like that on your team. And as you mentioned, this is like training a new employee. Even if it's an expert that came from another company, you wouldn't just give them the key to all the financial decisions, customer decisions, product decisions the next day, right? There would be some onboarding period. So start with some sort of onboarding. Keep
Yes.
an eye on what is working well, reinforce that. What is not working well. A good trick is, if you see something going in a wrong direction, you can use AI to improve the AI. So, start another chat and said, hey, this was my intention. This is the script of the conversation that happened with a customer or whatnot. How can I tell you better to follow my intention? And then it's going to tell you, hey, you should change my prompt to be like this, or I
Yes.
need more examples of what good looks like, or things like that. So
Yes.
that's one nice trick that you could use.
I like that, Amir, a lot. I like that an awful lot. And in fact, another phrase that you've thrown into the pot here is onboarding your AI agent. Is that a phrase you use with your clients?
Yes,
I
definitely.
like
I
that.
mean, and of course, it's not a perfect analogy, right? It's not a human you join into the team, but for people, it's a good analogy to help them understand how to behave or what to do and not to do with those tools, right? It's
Yeah.
not the same as putting in a simple algorithmic system that gets a number, gets an input and spits an output, and you can trace the
Yeah.
decision, and you can kind of change the code to control that decision path. Here
Yeah.
it works differently. So I think this metaphor makes people understand both the potential, the risks, the implications of allowing these systems into your teams and into your decision mechanisms.
And the management skills required to
Yeah,
onboard them and bring them
absolutely.
in. Yeah, fantastic. That's really, really helpful. Amir, will you come back? Can we ask you back again? We'd love to hear more. There's other stuff you've written which I find intriguing. So if you're around, we'll be asking you back if that's okay.
Yeah, I think it's a very important conversation to be had. I'm very happy to be part of it.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. We'll put a link to your LinkedIn profile in the notes on prsmith.org/blog. And we'll also put a link to that excellent post that you made, which really I found fascinating. It was short, it was sweet, it was just bang. It was great, terrific stuff. Okay, right. One last thing before we finish now. We've got a few minutes before we wind up. I wanted to bring to your awareness another post that was written by Ron Bauer, who's he founded a venture capital company, Theseus Capital, venture capital company. And he wrote something that I'm going to call rekindling classic Apple ads in this AI world. And he said, he showed a very old Apple ad, and the backdrop to this ad, it was one of the greatest Apple ads ever. And they were 90 days away from bankruptcy in 1997 when they launched this ad, and it changed everything. And it was that great ad where he says, and by the way, the problem wasn't the product, it was more the silence. And this is to do with innovation. So they were very innovative, Apple. But most leaders they found were in the business were worried about fixing the profit and loss, and the cuttings and efficiencies and shrinking costs and all that. But Steve Jobs did the opposite, and he invested in a story. And if you recall, they show pictures flashing up on the screen of famous people, and the words go something like this. I won't repeat the whole thing, but here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, and on it goes. And it's like an adoration to them or acknowledgement to them. It says, we see the genius because people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that actually do it. And during that beautiful voiceover, when they said, here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, they show a picture of Bob Dylan. And here's to the rebels and the troublemakers, and they show a picture of Martin Luther King, for goodness sake. And the round pegs and square holes to show Richard Branson, the entrepreneur from the UK. And the ones that see things differently, John Lennon. So it's a really beautiful ad. And some say save them. So the bottom line, punchline from Ron Bauer's really interesting piece is you can't optimize your way out of an identity crisis. And Apple were having a bit of an identity. Who were they? What were they about? And so on. And so he repositioned Apple continually. And that masterpiece kind of got him out of jail in a sense. So it occurred to me that it's just worth, by way of refreshing, and it's 49 years, I think it was released in 75, 49 years ago, but it's still relevant to today's world, particularly this AI world we live in. So we'll put a link to that post, which will show you that should you want to have a little look at it. It's refreshing. Yes, Reggie.
It's fitting, Paul, fitting time to bring that up too, because in the United States, Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day,
Yes.
to celebrate as far as the ones that are crazy enough to think they can change the world and do.
Reggie, beautifully said. Thank you so much. The great man Martin Luther King. Yes, it is Monday. You're right, and we will normally put out one meme with a really beautiful quote for something significant or a special day. But you've now sparked me. I'm going to put out 2 memes next Monday about Martin Luther King, the great man himself, and each of them are just beautiful, and the world needs his kind of stuff more than ever before. So, Reggie, thank you for that. It's Monday, so watch out. We post that on Monday. Okay, folks, we've just run out of time. We're going to have to stop it right here, but don't forget the last couple of weeks now of getting your free Substack executive summary integrated with advantages and disadvantages of AI. So how to write the perfect plan and integrating AI in there with it. Reggie, I think you've posted the link to the survey. It's in the notes here, but I'll post it on prsmith.org/blog again. Right. Well, look, we've run out of time. It's just, we could chat all day. You can see how interesting this stuff is. So we're most grateful to you for that. But we're going to play out, as we always do, Undiscovered Artists. And this is the Phoenix River Band. And the track is Vienna. So we wish you all a great weekend. Reggie, thank you very much. Amir, great to see you. And thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
Post
Thank
the
you.
notes. Take care. And best of luck to everybody. You'll use this to play out this track now.
I suppose there's no doubt the world has changed. The light went out. You may forget. Can I recall the writings there still on the wall?
That's Vienna from the Phoenix River Band, Undiscovered Artists. We'll post a link to them too, so that you can have a listen and give them your support whatever way you want. We'll see you all next week, folks. Bye for now.